I'm 83. People look at my life and say, I did everything right. Long career, stable income, respectable reputation, no scandals, no disasters. And yet, I wake up most nights with the same heavy thought sitting on my chest. I lived correctly and still missed the point. That's the part no one warns you about. Society teaches you to chase safety, approval, and patience. Work hard. Don't rock the boat. Save joy for later. Endure now. Live later. I followed every rule like it was sacred. And I'm telling you now, with nothing left to gain from lying, that this promise is a trap. The life you postpone does not wait for you. It quietly disappears while you're being responsible. The first person I failed was not my boss or my coworkers or even my family. It was the younger version of me, the one who believed life would eventually open up, that there would be a clear moment when everything made sense and I'd finally feel alive. I remember him clearly. He had energy, curiosity, questions. I told him to be patient. I told him it wasn't time yet. I told him one day. That young man trusted me, and I betrayed him slowly, year by year, with good excuses and sensible choices. Everyone around me thought I was winning. Promotions came. Praise followed. People said I was dependable, solid, admirable. But here's the truth that comes at the end, not the beginning. Fulfillment doesn't arrive as a reward for obedience. It comes from presence, risk, connection, and time spent being fully human. And those things don't survive long when you keep putting them off. If you're listening to me and thinking this sounds familiar, good. That discomfort is a warning, not a flaw. I'm not here to inspire you. I'm here to tell you what happens if you ignore that quiet voice for too long. Because at 83, I finally understand why so many people die unfulfilled. They didn't fail. They waited. For most of my life, I hid behind what I believed was virtue, responsibility, stability, being reliable. I told myself that real adults don't chase feelings. They build foundations. That love is proven through provision. That being a good man means showing up every day, doing what's expected, and not complaining. I believed sacrifice was noble even when no one asked for it. I believed patience was wisdom. I believed postponing myself was maturity. And because those ideas are praised by society, no one ever questioned me. Not my parents, not my colleagues, not even my family. Every time something inside me felt restless or empty, I shut it down with the same sentence. This is what you're supposed to do. I convinced myself that being a good father meant paying the bills on time, keeping the house secure, never letting fear show. I thought being a good husband meant consistency, not closeness. I thought love was something you demonstrate quietly through endurance, not something you actively practice. That was my noble lie, and it felt convincing because it made me useful, respected, and needed. There was a moment when I truly believed I had won. I remember standing in the living room of the house we had just bought. The furniture was in place, the walls were clean, everything was finally in order. I looked around and felt a deep sense of relief. This is it, I thought. This is what all those years were for. The long hours, the missed dinners, the postponed trips. I told myself that now I could relax, now I could be present, now I could enjoy what I had built. People congratulated me. They said I'd made it. I believed them. I believed the struggle was over and life was about to begin. But life doesn't announce itself like that. It doesn't wait. for perfect conditions. While I was admiring the structure I had built, something essential was already slipping away. After that, the wheels started turning faster. Wake up, work, come home tired. Promise myself I'd do better tomorrow. Tomorrow became next month, next year. Always just a little more effort, a little more patience, a little more sacrifice. I kept telling myself the same story. Once things slow down, once I feel secure enough, once I reach the next milestone, then I'll focus on what really matters. That illusion is powerful because it sounds reasonable. It feels responsible. It gives you permission to delay your own life without guilt. And every year, the routine got heavier, more automatic. I didn't notice how quiet the house had become, how conversation shortened, how laughter faded into politeness. I told myself it was normal. I told myself everyone lives like this. I told myself tomorrow was guaranteed. That's the cruel part of the noble lie. It doesn't destroy you suddenly. It numbs you slowly. It teaches you to trade aliveness for approval, connection for control, and time for the promise of time later. And by the time you realize tomorrow is not waiting for you, you've already spent decades rehearsing absence. The moment that broke me wasn't dramatic. No shouting, no collapse, no hospital room. It was the day I realized I was no longer necessary. I had just retired. People shook my hand, thanked me for my years of service, told me to enjoy my freedom. 2 weeks later, no one called. Not one question, not one problem that needed my advice. The role that had defined me for decades evaporated quietly, like it had never mattered. I came home earlier than usual that afternoon and sat alone in the kitchen. The house was clean, too clean. No noise, no urgency, just silence. I opened a drawer looking for something trivial, I don't even remember what, and found an old photograph tucked underneath papers I hadn't touched in years. It was a small, faded photo. My wife and daughter at the beach. They were laughing. I was in the frame too, but off to the side, half turned away, looking at something else. Probably a phone, probably work. I stared at that picture for a long time. What hurt wasn't that I wasn't smiling. It was that I couldn't remember that day at all. I had proof I was there, but no memory of being present. That photograph became the anchor of everything I didn't want to admit. I took it to the living room and sat down, holding it like it might explain something if I looked long enough. And that's when the clock stopped. I understood that the life I thought I was building was already behind me. The future I kept working toward had quietly turned into the past while I wasn't looking. I had been running toward a finish line that moved every time I got close. Promotion, stability, comfort. And while I chased those markers, the people in my life learned how to live without needing me at the center. My daughter didn't drift away suddenly. She adapted. My marriage didn't collapse overnight. It cooled. Love didn't disappear. It waited. And then it stopped waiting. The most terrifying realization wasn't that I had lost people. It was that I had trained myself to be absent so well that I didn't notice until there was nothing left demanding my presence. No one was angry. No one blamed me. That was worse. Anger would have meant I still mattered. Instead, I was treated politely, kindly, like someone from a previous chapter. Sitting there with that photo in my hands, I finally saw the truth I had avoided my entire life. The finish line was never real. It was just a story I told myself to justify delay. And people don't pause their lives while you prepare to join them. They grow, they move, they change. And one day, you look at proof that you were there and realize you weren't really living it. Here's what I wish someone had told me when I was still strong enough to ignore it. Money can come back. Status can be rebuilt. A house can be cleaned again. A career can be replaced with another title, another routine, another little badge of importance. Even health sometimes can be managed for a while. But time doesn't return. Not a single hour, not one evening you skipped, not one laugh you traded for later. And the cruel part is that time doesn't just disappear. It turns into distance. It turns into strangers who share your last name. People think the biggest tragedy is losing someone. Sometimes it's worse than that. Sometimes the tragedy is keeping them and losing your place in their life. My daughter is polite with me now. She calls, yes. She'll ask how I'm doing. She'll tell me the weather where she lives. She'll mention work in vague, safe sentences. But she speaks to me the way you speak to a neighbor you respect. She doesn't tell me her fears. She doesn't tell me what keeps her awake. I don't know who hurt her in her 20s. I don't know what she dreams about. I don't know the real texture of her life. I lost the right to her secrets, and I didn't lose it because of one terrible mistake. I lost it one ordinary day at a time, and my old colleagues, it's almost funny, if it didn't sting so much. I thought I mattered. I thought the machine needed me. Then I retired, and the machine kept moving like I was never there. A few kind messages at first, a lunch or two, then silence. Not because they're bad people, because work is like that. It consumes you when you're inside it and forgets you the moment you step out. I gave my best years to something that could replace me in a week. Meanwhile, the people who couldn't replace me, I treated like they would always be there. And there's another truth no one prepares you for, the witness of your life. When you grow old, you realize you don't just love people for who they are now. You love them because they remember who you used to be. Your spouse, your closest friend, the one person who saw you when you were young and ridiculous and full of hope. They are the keeper of your real story. When that witness is gone, you don't just lose companionship. You lose evidence. You lose the only living proof that you once had a beginning, that you were more than the tired person staring at the calendar today. Even if that witness is still alive, but emotionally far from you, it feels like you're watching your own life through thick glass. That's the irreversible price. You can earn money again. You can't earn back closeness. You can't buy the missed years. You can't negotiate with time. It only takes, quietly, patiently, until one day you realize the most expensive things in your life were the ones you stopped noticing. Listen to me now, not as a character in a story, but as a man who has already reached the end of the road. You're still walking. I know you're tired. I know you're telling yourself you'll slow down once this phase passes. I know you believe this pressure is temporary, that this sacrifice is necessary, that once you secure a little more money, a little more stability, everything else will fall into place. I know you think you'll call your parents on the weekend, that you'll really listen to your partner when work calms down, that you'll be more present with your children when life becomes less demanding. I told myself all of that, and I believed it every single time. That's why it worked. That's why it cost me everything that couldn't be replaced. Here's the truth I don't want you to ignore. There is no later version of you who suddenly has time. There is only the you who shows up now and the you who doesn't. Life doesn't reward patience with meaning. It rewards presence with connection. And connection, once neglected long enough, does not come back the way it was. So here is my instruction to you, and I want you to hear how simple it is, because simplicity leaves no room to hide. When this video ends, don't scroll. Don't save it for later. Close the app, then do one thing. 1. Call the person whose name immediately came to mind while you were listening to me. Not tomorrow, not this weekend, today. If they're nearby, go to them. Sit down. Say something honest, even if it comes out clumsy, even if it feels uncomfortable, especially then. Presence is not about saying the perfect words. It's about choosing to be there while you still can. I am not asking you to abandon your responsibilities. I am asking you to stop confusing responsibility with disappearance. Your job will replace you. Your title will fade. Your routines will dissolve. But the way someone feels when you walk into the room, that stays. That is your real legacy. If this story reached you, subscribe. Not for entertainment, not for algorithms. Subscribe because I don't have many years left to pass these words forward, and someone else needs to hear them before they repeat my mistake. Leave a comment and tell me who you're going to call. Give me your word, even if I'll never meet you, that you won't keep postponing your life the way I did. And if you know someone who is living entirely for later, share this with them, not to scare them, to give them a chance. Don't wait 50 years to understand this, because unlike me, you still have time.